How's everybody doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day, night, evening, wherever you're at. Welcome to a brand new Ike Live 2.0. I hope everybody is enjoying the new podcast format. I'm having a lot of fun with it. We're going to keep the hits coming. We've got a great guest for you tonight. We've been definitely trying to mix it up for you a little bit and not just have pro anglers on, but have other people from the industry. And I've got a great one for you tonight. A good friend of mine, Kyle Peterson, is joining us, one of the designers over at Pure Fishing. It's going to be fun picking his brain a little bit. And I want to let you guys in on the process of what it takes to design amazing baits. And Kyle's been on a roll here the last few years with some great baits. Before we get into it, I want to thank our sponsors of this podcast, Mystery Tackle Box. It is like Christmas to your doorstep once a month. It's an amazing product, and it's a product that puts lures, baits, techniques right to your hands once a month. Head on over to mysterytacklebox.com. If you use the promo code Ike Live, you're going to get 30% off your first Elite box, 50% off your first Pro box. And this is a must-have item. So go over and check them out, Mystery Tackle Box. Also brought to you by the Ike Foundation. We're trying to get more kids fishing. If you want to help grow the sport, head on over to the ikefoundation.org. Get some information on how you could help get kids fishing. I'm ready to do this, man. I know right now you don't have no idea what's going on, but this is like late at night. Both of us have been working hard today and weeks leading up to this podcast. So we're both tired, but I appreciate him coming on. Joining us now, the one and only Kyle Peterson. Kyle!
Hey, Mike.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
Dude, thanks for coming on. Now, you said you're beat down. You're beat down like me. They're working you hard. A lot of stuff going on. What's happening? Exciting stuff. Okay.
It's just that time of the year where, last year's projects are wrapping up, and we're starting everything for next year. So it's just a busy time of the year. A lot going on. I could definitely relate to that. Okay. First things first. What is, and I don't even know this, so this is good information. What is your official title at Pure Fishing? Yeah. So my official title is Soft Bait Project Engineer.
Ooh, Soft Bait Project. That's a cool title. And let me translate that for everybody listening. Another way to say it would be badass soft bait designer.
Trying the best I can. That's basically
would be another great way. Now, this is it's pretty great because that for a lot of our listeners right now, they're fishermen, they're anglers, they hunt, they love the outdoors, and just before we even get into what that means, they're already jealous. They already got a Woody because it's a dream job. Like for a lot of us that have been tinkering with stuff since we were kids, that sounds like a dream job.
It truly is.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I'm 3.5 years deep now here with my role at Pure Fishing. And on Sunday night, Dan and I, my boss, always laugh because we're excited to come to work Monday morning. Like we can't wait to get back in and dig back in and catch up where we left off on Friday. So it truly does fly by. It's a very fast-paced job, but it's an amazing one, and I still can't believe I'm living it today. So I'm very fortunate.
Dude, it's so cool. It's so cool. So that really, I think that's a good segue to my first question, which is for our listeners, for our viewers, and they're honestly probably a lot that are aspiring to work in this industry, right? You know, whether it's becoming a bait designer or a rod designer or an engineer, there's so many things you could do in the fishing industry. How'd you fall into this, or how did this come about for you?
It is a very, very long story and kind of a weird one, but it all boils down to passion in a way. Like
okay.
I was doing this before my role in Pure Fishing. But basically I'll just keep it short and simple. Yeah. I skipped work one day. I worked in construction. I skipped work one day, took off on a wild chase after a muskie in this unknown water. ended up meeting my current wife, married, family, helped invest in me, started a little tackle thing on the side, to here I am today. So if I boil it all back, it really goes like everything had to line up perfectly, but I skipped work to go on a fishing trip, and here I am today.
Oh my God. So
short story.
What a cool story. So you owe a lot to that muskie, not just your job, but even your wife.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Like, some people say, or, I don't really want to get too religious or anything, but there's definitely seems like a higher power that's, lined everything up for this. It's,
I believe in that.
It can't happen any other way.
Dude, I
think,
I believe in that. I believe in that. Trust me. Listen, this is 10 years of doing this podcast. Wow. And I've heard so many stories, exactly what you just said, whether it's from a pro angler or somebody else in the industry, or we've had athletes and we've had a lot of people on the show, and they've all had something like that where it happened almost on its own. Like, it was like, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, I still can't believe it. It's quite a unique story, and some bad things happened in there, but I still feel blessed, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, did the muskie get caught? Did the muskie have a name?
Yeah, we lost one. I lost one that day, but we did find him in the Small River, so it worked out. But I caught a bigger fish. I got my wife, so that works.
That's a way bigger fish and a better fish.
Yeah.
Now, so it's interesting because I think from afar, people might assume that, this job, you have to have like a lot of official training. You have to be, a college graduate with this, and this degree and this certification. Is that the case, or is that not the case?
Well, my boss, Dan, he has a master's degree in fish biology. So he's very, titled, accomplished coworker of mine, and I'm a construction worker, but the one thing we both share in common is the passion for fishing.
Yeah.
I got, I used to joke all the time because I'd work 40 hours during the week, and Friday I would get off and head to the water, and I'd fish 32 hours to the weekend. We'd go sun up to sundown every single day, and I'd be back at it again. So it was almost like a full-time job just fishing. So if you think about it, if you rip everything apart and you look at what it truly is, Dan and I both have extreme amount of passion. And if it wasn't for our jobs at Pure Fishing, we would still be doing some sort of, Dan built lures before, I built lures before. We were doing it before, but now we just have the official job.
Yeah. I think that's so key, man. If you're listening to this, the one thing that's loud and clear to me, and I've talked to other people in the industry, from photographers to, brand managers and all that. And I've been around a long time in the fishing industry. And I think if you don't have that passion, it maybe never works to the fullest extent that it could. I've definitely worked with a lot of people, maybe not in your exact position, but in roles like you have, and they weren't passionate fishermen, and it doesn't seem like it lasts very long. And I think having that it's important, right? Because you're a fish head before this job, and you're still a fish head with this job, and that makes it better.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of other skills that I have that help me with my role. I was back in high school, I was thinking about going for graphic design, so I've always been kind of a sketcher. CAD, computer animated design, learning how to do that. There's other things that help build me up, and Pure Fishing has done a really good job in supporting me and building me as a person, for an asset as their company. So I'm building my skills while I'm working there, and it's really nice, Mike. It truly is.
That's awesome. And I could tell. Look, I talk to you a lot. We talk, especially when we're in that bait phase where we're fun phase, when we're looking at new stuff and we're working through problems. And I talk to you a lot, and you can tell. I talk to a lot of people in the industry. They have that drive that you have, because it is at the end of the day, it is a little, it's problem solving, right? There's an element of solving a puzzle, just like in fishing, right? In fishing, it's the pattern of the day, what they're doing, changing with them, figuring it out. But in bait design, I think it's a lot of the same elements, right?
Yeah, and it's experience. 3 years ago I started. I'm 3 times the bait builder I was, or even more than the day I started. So each project teaches you something new that you take to the next project, and it just kept snowballing. And I'm really, really lucky, Mike. I have Dan, who my boss. I call him a leader because he's got 13 years of experience doing this, and he knows so much just right off the top of his head on how to help me, and he does a really, really good job at that.
Wow, that's awesome. I want to break into a little bit of the process, because I think that I want people to know, and I've been lucky because I've got to work with you guys for a lot of years and I've got to see it. But I want to talk about the process, and this in no order at all. I pulled out some of the baits that you've worked on and that I've fallen in love with, and I've got one right here, which is the Power Stinger. If you're watching or listening to this right now and you haven't fished this, you're probably living under a rock somewhere. But if you haven't, please try this on the back of your chatterbait. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I actually love, and Kyle, you know this, but I'm a big fan of the smaller one, the 3.5. That's just, I don't know. I like the way it performs on a vibrating jig better, but let's use this as an example, because I think this is a bait that is very unique in design and very unique in what it does on the back of a bladed jig. So how did something like this come about? Like take me through a general process of where it starts and how it ends.
Okay, so the first thing to think about is I'm in R&D. So, we design and develop all the lures, and then there's the brand side of things. We work daily together. Right. So brand is looking at the market, what lures we need to have, how do we fill a void, how do we, help our consumers, pain points, such like that. So, we came out with the slobber knocker. Well, right. Bladed jig, you need to have a bladed jig trailer.
Berkley launched your own bladed jig, right?
Yeah. So we wanted to have a trailer that goes on the back of that. Simple as that. So that's what I get. That's my project. As Kyle, we need to do a bladed jig trailer. Okay, so I search the internet, look for all tips, tricks, what people are doing. Yeah. The next thing I like to do is I call all the pros on our team and I ask them what's important. What makes this trailer so good? What don't you like? And it was, I start to list these all out in line. So I start breaking all this down, and there's things that just pop out consistently for everyone. One of them was they hate trimming baits to put on there. They just want a bait that their rig's right on there. So in my head, let's make the body the exact size for our hook that fits right on there. Right. The other thing is they just wanted a round tube. They didn't want, a big drop belly. They didn't want anything like that. So, I just sketched up a little, fish profile. And the last thing they said, there's high action trailers like our Deal, or they wanted one that was more of a fluke style for cold water. And they didn't want any like lift in the tail. They just wanted straight wag this way. And that was kind of the challenging part. So, I sat down and I started cutting out chunks, and it's kind of funny because it's the construction background. I honeycomb came from lattice work under decks. Wow. So, we did some scales there. So if you could take that bait and dangle it one way so they can see the wag. See the wag. Now, if you go the other way, sorry, get my hand over here. If you go the other way, it doesn't lift up, and that's the center rib down the middle of it. So when it's on the trailer, the blade transfers the energy back there. Right. And that's what we have. Other than that, it was, a couple prototypes, making sure the ribs and the texture on the honeycomb tail were right. And that's what we got.
Dude, it's amazing. And the process of, when you think about it, going from, it was all conceptual, right? It was literally the team saying, okay, we need a bladed jig trailer that's better than anything that's out there. So it's conceptual. And then it goes to a drawing. It goes to some prototypes, a CAD, a temporary mold, right? This process, this build-up process. What are we talking about timeline? Now, I know some projects are more difficult. We'll talk about one a little later. That was really difficult. But what's the typical timeline for when, you know, you have a concept and you're just in your head until you have something that works like that?
A minimum a year.
A year.
A minimum is a year. That's the fastest that we can do anything. Likely a lot longer, especially on our hard bait side. But on soft bait, you know, we start to get our projects like, you know, January, let's say in there.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm starting to do my research, gather information. And then, you know, Berkley Labs is, you've seen it. It's straight up amazing. I have every tool that I could ever need to get any job done. So, you know, 3D printers to cutting molds to making samples, doing lead hooks, everything I ever need is there for me. And it's truly amazing. So I can cut a mold, shoot a sample, swim it, make revisions in my CAD and sketches, cut another mold and swim it within a week. So I'm, you know,
wow.
We don't just make a bait and, oh, it fits on the back. It's good.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking, well, this one didn't work. I'll take a note like, oh, let's thin the thinner rib down and down the center, and now I get more wag out of it or something like that. And then I try that. And I like to go to the point where it starts to go worse, and then I tone it back to like, this is the perfect one.
Right. That's amazing. And I've been there. And if you're watching or listening to this, please, when you're done watching this podcast, just Google the Pure Fishing Facility in Spirit Lake. I know there's stuff on it that they've done tours and stuff for. Dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. And if you're a fish head, it is sort of like kind of what I imagine heaven being like, you know,
it is
with all the tanks and the engineering ability of the folks there. It's just crazy. It's crazy. You know, I'm getting to show these guys some of your successful work. Another great one. Very, very unique. My son Vegas is a big fan of this thing.
Great. I like to hear that.
Yeah, Shape 108. But how many of these projects fail? And I'm curious because we're looking at ones that succeed that are a year or 2 years in the making. But honestly, Kyle, how many of these fail?
More than I'd like to admit. You know,
okay.
We got some different ideas that we try to execute, and you know, we like to come out with stuff that's perfect. So I wouldn't say it's a lot, but you know, I've had a few that haven't quite made it to the finish line, and they get pushed to the next year, like the one that we're going to talk about later that just wasn't quite right yet, and that's fine.
Yeah,
you know, that gets a better product out the door in the end, and but I try my best to get everything done to top quality and in my time frame that I can. So I would say, you know, I probably had 3 in 3 years. Or something that's pushed along that lines where it just hasn't worked out and we've had to bump it or cut it off the list or something like that.
Yeah. And that's a good reality check. I think, you know, we definitely have listeners right now and people going to watch this podcast that are doing this at some scale themselves. Right. And that's amazing because, you know, I love the guys that tweak stuff in their garage and they're pouring stuff themselves. Like that is cool. That's an art within itself. And I think that gives those guys hope, you know, when they're working on stuff that doesn't work, you know. Hearing it from you is a great testament, you know.
Are you saying on each project how many times do we fail before we get it right?
Yeah.
A lot. We fail
a lot.
Yeah. It's not right first try by any means.
Yeah.
It may work first try, but we're trying to perfect it. So So there are several revisions between the concept, the sketch that we put on the piece of paper. I call it the blueprint, where we start, you know, I sketch out my fish and then I'll say like round here, you know, thick here, whatever we want to do. But it's several revisions. My Keith, the director of R&D, he always jokes at me that we need to hire another machinist to keep up with how many times we tweak stuff and change it. And that's where the Shape 108 play came from.
Yeah.
So that bait right there did not look anything like that. Not even close. It was more of a flat style bait. And then we sent them out and got pro feedback, and it literally morphed into what you're seeing today. I would say 20 different just takes of trying stuff to get it where it is before we got everyone saying, like, this is a badass trailer. We need to have this. And that's where that one came from. So it's kind of funny. The boss, when we're doing naming, like, what should we name this thing? And there's already so many craw names out there. We don't want to get lost. My boss goes, why don't we call it Shape 108? Because it took Kyle 108 tries to get it right. So that's literally that name is.
I never knew that's. I love that because I didn't know that till now.
It's kind of a, it's kind of a jab at me, like, on how like picky I was to get that right. So if you guys haven't tried it, it's a very unique action. Like,
very unique action.
I haven't seen anything like it. It's like, I don't know, it's crazy, but the fish like it.
I love it. And the way that I could describe it, if you're watching this and you can see this, or if you're just listening, the way that I can describe it, it's not a normal crawl. It's a big action. It's almost a big exaggerated action. And I like it for certain situations. I'll tell you this, when that bluegill bite is on, when they're on bluegills, that's a really good one, man. Just big profile, big action. I love it. That's a cool shape. Now I just want to corner it on this one too, because we're going to go in the opposite direction now from this amazing big crawl.
Oh God.
To this little one, which is a sleeper. And guys aren't talking about this. I even hate to talk about this on this podcast because I feel like I'm going to wake people up to this. But you know, this
little super trooper.
Dude, this is one of my personal favorites, especially because we have it in accent. But talk about that one. Little tiny crawl.
Yeah, so that original one was the little trooper, and we wanted to come, especially with the smallmouth and the max scent, we wanted to do a little ultra finesse Ned crawl that smaller than any other bait. So we did the little trooper, and then the size extension, or what we wanted to do next year, was the super trooper and develop these kicking arms. And max scent's super unique. You know, it's a dense material, so when that bait thumps in the water, like, you can feel it in your rod, and it's unlike any other plastic out there, you know, besides the scent release.
Yeah,
it thumps differently than normal plastisol. You know, I'm a huge fan of that. When I can feel it and I lift that up on the rod, like, I can feel that kicking, and that bait has done really, really good for me.
I love it. I'm a big fan of it, not just on a Ned head, but on a micro jig or a compact football head. Oh my gosh, dude, this thing's a terror for smallmouth, especially.
Yeah.
They freaking don't want to leave it alone. All right, I can't wait anymore. I want to get into this project because it's I've got to work with you on a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah,
but this one. And I hate to use this word because people sometimes get mad at me because I've said it before and it maybe is an overused term, but I'm serious. Now, listen, if you're listening to this podcast right now, I am dead serious that this one is actually a game changer. Maybe some of the other ones I said game changer, it was somewhat of a game changer, but this one actually is. This is a really special swim bait that you worked on, and I was lucky enough to work on it with you. And dude, before I even show it, this one was a lot of I remember getting calls from you. I remember getting FaceTimes from you, and dude, this one was wearing you out.
It still is.
It still is.
Yeah.
Before I show it, just talk a little bit about this Nessie. Talk about how this wasn't easy. This was a harder project for you.
The hard part was making it have the action that I really wanted a kid. You know, glide baits are so expensive, you know,
super expensive.
$100, $200, $300, $1,000. It's so intimidating to get into the glide bait market. Not only do you have to buy the bait, but then you have to buy the rod and setup to handle the bait. And kids nowadays just can't do that. So
right.
I really wanted to develop something that worked across the board. I wanted it to come out of the package and work for a kid that's going to be able to buy this on the shelf go out and fish it, catch fish, and I wanted the glide bait snobs to have a reason to throw this. You know what I mean? It was
mass appeal. Yeah.
The project itself was extremely hard. Hardest thing I've ever worked on by far.
Hard.
But it's also the most rewarding because the action on it covers that. It goes from a kid just straight reeling it to the glide bait snob that's chopping or walking the reel or whatever you want to do. It works through all of that. And there's advanced ways to mess with it that people are going to figure out. I just figured out one the other day and I'm amazed by it. I sent you all the pictures of what we caught with it. So
it's crazy.
That was the hardest part, was getting the action dialed in it. Several factors to get there. I'm glad we took the time to do it. This is one that got pushed, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah, so this was more like a 2-year project, and it was worth it. And I think you described it really, really well. And this is a bait that it's great for me because some of the baits that I work with Berkley, you really have to tell a story. You have to explain. You have to show rigging. The thing I love about this one, Kyle, just show it swimming, and it explains itself.
Yes, it sure does.
It kind of makes me irrelevant in the whole equation, but I hope it doesn't totally, but it really does prove itself just by looking at it. But I am 100% certain this is probably the first live podcast that's ever talked about this bait. That makes me happy too, but let me show everybody. I know you may have already seen some glimpses of it, but there it goes. It's the brand new Berkley Power Bait Nessie. And this is a bait that is accessible to people. You mentioned it in cost and in size. Talk about the sizes, talk about the cost. What are we talking about for a guy to buy this thing?
Yeah, so I had to check with the brand manager to make sure I got this right, but we're going to do 3 sizes. A little baby 5-inch, which I got here to show you guys. Little baby 5-inch, so this will be perfect for pond fishing or anything else. We bumped up to a 7 in my favorite color, that rainbow trout that you're holding. And
beautiful.
Then, the 9-inch. This one's in hickory shell. This one's got quite a few fish on it, but 5, 7, and 9. The price points are going to be $6, $9, and $13.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're telling me $13 for a legitimate big glide bait?
Yeah, and it's going to do everything those fancy ones do and more.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is incredible. It makes me happy because as you were talking and you were talking about how inaccessible those glide baits are, it's so true. And listen, for everybody, like I remember 2 or 3 years ago when those big glides first started hitting, they would do these like like pop-up flash sales, and all of a sudden your Facebook would come up and so-and-so is going live, and I could never get one. They were like $100, $200, but I could never buy one because every time I logged on, they were gone. I love that this is going to put these baits in the hands of everyone, make it very accessible. I love that. But dude, this thing let me think of the right way to say this. More than any other bait I've ever fished, it's a work of art. Dude, it really is, dude. Let's start with I want to touch on a few things, but let's start with the paint finish, okay? 10 colors, 2 standard colors, which I think are ones you have to have. One we're calling raw or naked, which is just a pure white, a green pumpkin, which is you have to have that. But we have 8 of these that, dude, are beautiful.
Yep.
How did that come about?
So I'm very fortunate. I try to treat everybody with extreme care and nice. I don't make a decision until someone's rubbed me wrong. And I didn't accidentally. I walked into a taxidermy shop here in my hometown, and there was a gentleman working, and just being nice and friendly, talking to him about whitetail deer and whatnot. And the guy, is a taxidermist, and he won worlds for painting fish.
Wow.
He likes fishing, so we went out fishing, and our relationship grew. And when we came to this glide bait project, I was like, you know, what's going to bring this to the next level? And I reached out to him about helping develop us some colors on these baits.
Yeah.
And he said, sure, you know, gladly help out. It was about 2 full weekends of sitting down there, and oh my God, did I learn so much from these painters and what they do. And I was taking notes and how step by step on how to paint this stuff. So shout out to Brett for helping out Berkley Labs and developing these colors. His work is amazing. Like, you've seen them. They're literally
gorgeous
of art. Like, I cannot believe that paint job on these. So it truly came from just being nice to a random guy that I met. And here, you know, his work is on some, I'm saying, the best glide bait ever developed on it. So, I mean, he's extremely happy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. They look so good. They look so real, and they have that custom feel. And look, that $300 glide baits have. The other thing, I know this was a thorn in your side, but I hope everyone, when they eventually get their hands on one, I hope they can appreciate this right here. Because
no kidding.
This, to me, honestly, like, is the exclamation point. It's like the dagger that makes this bait the ultimate glide bait. Talk about that paintbrush tail, because putting a paintbrush tail in a resin bait or a hard plastic bait is relatively easy.
Yep.
Talk about putting it in a soft bait.
You know, Mike, we came across so many challenges with that, but I think it is like you're saying, an exclamation point or a stamp. Like, it's all those high-end glide baits have the paintbrush tail on there. It's something that we both talked about and we wanted to try to do it. We didn't know if it was possible, you know, individual fibers sticking in plastisol. Is that going to work?
Right.
That was hard. Let's just say that was very hard to get right. It's all about materials, gluing processes. You know, we do a lot of accelerated age oven testing to make sure they stay in, and you get in a little bit and they'd fail and you have to try again. And it was very, very hard, but without it, I don't think it'd be the same bait.
I would agree. I think that makes it unique. It makes it special. It's almost
too, you know, that tail flows in the water.
Dude, it flows. It makes that tail pop. And I know for a lot of the hardcore swim bait guys that I'm friends with, they literally won't even consider a glide bait unless it has that. So I'm so glad that worked out. The joint is amazing, and we've got a mesh in there that'll make that joint flow and stay together. But 2 more things I just want you to talk about, because again, these are things that make this bait different, make this bait unique, and make this bait special.
Before you get off that joint, show them how thin that joint is on that.
Yeah, so let's see if I can get real
the
tight.
Other way, 90 degrees. We don't have any plastisol in the joint. So it's literally the freest moving joint that you can fish. And what that allows is movement at the slowest speed. You're barely turning your reel, and that thing is just S-ing in the water like it's supposed to on that 9. It's just back and forth. And then you can burn it up and stop it, and it turns 90 degrees. So that joint took me several tries. You know, I started with plastisol, but then it's like durability. So then we put mesh in there, and getting the mesh centered, getting the, you know, mesh that's strong. Like, that break point is over 20 pounds to rip that bait in half. So it's not going to rip in half. It gives you the action you want, and it was a huge pain for me, but we got it right. So I'm really happy about that.
Dude, that's special. And I want to remind you guys watching this is power bait. This is soft plastic. And in my time fishing this, the benefits of this one being soft, dude, there's so many, from being able to skip it to the fish actually eating it.
That's the big one right there.
Compressing it, right? Like, all those glide bait fish I've missed in the past because they hit it and it's rigid. You know, the tail can only move so far, and this one just collapses in their mouth, right? Yep. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's, in my opinion, so much better than a rigid bait. But talk about this, because this, I don't know. I guess Berkley's done some projects like this before, but this is truly a hybrid bait.
Yeah.
All right. So we say that this is a soft bait. It's power bait, but tell me about the fins, because the fins, I know that you guys really worked on this, and when you guys got this right, it was like, it was the aha moment. But
yeah,
tell me about the fins on the Nessie.
The fins, you know, they act like a crankbait bill. They slice through the water. They're hard. They're polycarbonate fins, so they cut through the water, and that's creating resistance in the bait, which is going to give you that S-ing action out of it. So, I mean, they act like a crankbait. The first one I did had like a bill off the front of it, and it worked, but that's kind of been done before quite a bit. There's a few baits out there that have side fins on them, but nothing that I've seen that's a molded in polycarbonate fin. And that really helps with early activation in this, you know, the retrieve.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It stays true. Your bait stays completely true with it.
That's the deal. That's the deal. The ability for
you know, it doesn't, you know, some of those glide baits, when you're walking them, they kind of, you know, turn and go up. This thing's just straight diving through it. It stays true the whole time. And it's because of those hard fins.
Yep, stays very horizontal, stays very balanced, very fluid in the way it moves.
Very natural.
It's incredible. All right, last thing I really want to highlight, and this is, I know you're very, very proud of this, because we actually have this in Cole Shad as well.
Yep.
But treble hooks and glide baits were always like oil and water. It was always an issue, whether it was hooking the fish, the trebles wrapping your line, losing fish. Like, there were so many treble issues. You guys hit it out the park as a home run with this hook system. Talk about that thing, because that is just unbelievable.
You know, it's kind of funny how that came to be, and I talked a little bit about how the idea came, but I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I went out, you know, we were fishing, and I was kind of like throwing around, and just what you're talking about, treble hook hanging on top of the bait, treble hook catching the line, like, my God, this is a pain.
Yeah.
Like, how can we fix this and make it better for consumers? And the answer hit me. We got those horrible, brutal winters up here, and I have one of those snowplow shovels. When I'm done with it, you literally stick the handle and clicks right on the wall, hold your shovel for you, and ding, light bulb goes off. You know, so then I'm able to go back to Berkley Labs, which is the best facility ever for developing baits, and we turn around a prototype like that. And, you know, I'm playing with it, and it took some work to get what you see today. But, you know, that's where the idea came from. It's outside. Berkley Labs allowed me to put it into a bait. And then, you know, I'm able to solve consumer pain points in 2 products this year with just that idea. So,
yeah,
you know, that clip will hold that hook tight against the billy when you skip it under docks. When the fish bite it, it pops out, allows the bait to get out so they don't have momentum anymore. They stay hooked better, and then you just clip it in and go again.
Pop it right back
at it.
Dude, that thing is incredible. And I can't wait for people listening and watching. I can't wait for you to start to see the content that I've been able to acquire over the last year fishing this thing. And it's really, really incredible. The action of the bait, the way the fish respond to it. You know, proof's in the pudding on good baits. And you know that. You know, it's like, man, you could have the coolest looking bait in the world, and the fish will tell you if it works or not. And, dude, the fish respond to this. I can't even think of a bait that I've seen them respond to as well as this. Maybe like a soft stick bait, like a General or something that they just suck in. But, dude, this thing, why does it draw fish like that? Like, it seems like they come from nowhere, and they just want to eat it.
Yeah, and it's really funny. Dan and I, we just went out, fished some samples, and, you know, we fished for a couple hours, and we had 12 fish in on a glide bait, and the water conditions aren't even right for it. We were just testing it, and this one has that. It's so natural looking, you know, the
right
jointed glide baits, they're mechanical, you know, they're kind of like, it's got one solid joint. It's like, you know, glitchy a little bit in the water. This thing, tail turns. It's so fluid.
Even the sound is mechanical on those
this one is
big
not
ones.
going to make any noise. Maybe that's
right.
a good point to think about. I never even thought about that. This thing does not make any noise. It's not, the joints aren't hitting anything like that.
No, because, you know, like you think about a gizzard shad or a hitch or a golden shiner or a big herring, and they don't sound like, you know, they don't sound like crunchy and mechanical. You know, it's just that sound they're just coming through the water.
Yep.
Dude, I think that does a great job of imitating that, man. 100%.
Yeah, it's fun.
The thing's amazing. All right, so this podcast, if you're listening to it, we are literally on the heels of iCast, and this show's going to air, and I think it'll be like in the next 4 or 5 days, this thing will be shown to the world officially, I guess, for the first time at iCast. How excited are you to really let people see this, let them feel it, let the media get a hold of it? It's kind of exciting. I'm excited.
It's truly rewarding. People don't get to see the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into these baits. There are so many sleepless nights. There's so many headaches.
A lot of work.
You can't even explain it. Like, you just have to live the life. There's very few people that understand how demanding it is. But when that product, like everyone's like, what's the best moment in your career up here fishing? And I'm not even gonna lie. I've seen the pros catch them in tournaments. You know, Keith Boucher had Shape 108 and won in that thing. That felt pretty good. I was going through a bridge on our underpass, and it was actually on the 90 Gilly. And the kid doesn't know who I am. My boat is black. There's not a sticker on it. Nobody knows who I am. I love it that way. And I go through, and the kid I just caught a 5-pounder. It's the best thing ever. I got it on this Gilly. And that right there was the best moment that I've had so far.
Wow.
Like, this kid caught a 5-pounder. He held it up right as I was going under the bridge, and it was on a bait that I got to work on. So that felt good. That was the best thing that I've experienced so far.
That's awesome. It's super rewarding to see people have success with a bait, something that you had a hand in. I can tell you, I'm proud of some of the ones I was involved in over the years, and this one is special. I'm telling you, this one is a game changer. All right, will you be at iCast? And if you are going to be at iCast, what would it mean if this bait wins Best of Show?
Best of Show. So that would mean, the first year that I got to put a project of mine in was the Gilly. And I wasn't at iCast that year, and I got a phone call that it won Best of Category. And I'm like, sweet, that's awesome. Didn't really know much about it. I've never been to iCast. And then it won Best of Show, and I got, some of the, the executives of the company calling me and thanking me for my work. And I still didn't have any idea what was going on.
Right.
And then last year I got to go for the first time, and that was when the Power Stinger was entered, and I won, and they brought me up on stage. And, I stood there with the lights shining on me, and I saw the whole fishing industry.
Oh, yeah. Clapping. Everybody.
They're all clapping and cheering me on, and then it hit me. So that felt really good. Like, I don't try to consider myself a competitive person, but that's a moment that I'm not going to forget. And the Nessie's entered in. It 2 years of work poured into that bait to get what we have a finished product, and I'm really proud of it. It took our team, and I say team, and I mean team, because it was a team effort to get that where it is. I'm gonna touch on that for a second. There are so many unsung heroes in our department that don't get the shut of light like Dan and I do. I'm gonna if you got a second, Ike, I want to talk about him.
I want to hear about him.
Okay, first of all, it's Dan Spangler, my boss. He does all the hard baits. He is truly a leader, and he's incredible. Yeah. His boss is Keith Ostrom, and Keith gives us the tools and the time to get this stuff done. And his boss is Ryan, who's the director of R&D, and Ryan, for being, or not director, he's the vice president, I think. Nicest guy you ever meet, comes down, gives us anything that we need to get the job done. I want to switch over to Dan, and I have a CAD designer that helps us with everything. Her name's Kelly. She is like our sister to us. She helps any questions we have. She works her ass off for us, and she gets baits turned around in the designs and flip it over. We have another lady named Brenda. She's been there for, I'm not even going to say amount of years, but it's over 30. And she does all of the you know, the financial stuff and anything that supports us that way. Now I got to move down the hall, and people don't realize this, but we have chemists. You know, power bait just didn't happen overnight. We have full-time chemists that, you know, are tweaking the formulas, making the color samples. So between Jen and Amy are our two chemists that do all the formulas and making the samples and make matching colors or making new colors. So they do a great job, and without them we couldn't, you know, be where we are. Another really important one is Brent Southworth, and he does all of the flavors. So he's got a master's degree in fish biology, so he's literally in there doing all of the, you know, the scent and flavor packages. And without that, you know, our gulp wouldn't be what it is today. Our our power bait would not be what it is today without that.
Right. Yeah.
And his whole team. So there's a whole team on that side that, you know, isn't directly related to lures design, but I wanted to touch on that. And then a very, very important one is Lori. And Lori, she's actually my neighbor. She does all the communications and tracking projects and keeping things online. And she is the most organized and detailed woman that I've ever met. Like, everything's got a sticker on it, and she's got answers, and she's been here for a long time. And then the last one, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. I'm sure I am, but John Prochnow, he just got entered in the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. He has been there forever. He's the founder of Gulp and Power Bait.
It's awesome.
And he's just amazing guidance. He helps us, and he's got so many answers to everything. So that's our team. There's more, you know, the labs itself, but that's our team, and that's truly what brings these products to the consumer that gets to go out and just catch a fish on them. So, you know, I really want to touch on that. I think that's important. So
dude,
that time.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad you did that, because, you know, it is a team effort, and I get to see it because I've been to Spirit Lake. I've walked the halls. I get to see it. But I think a lot of times when people are thinking from afar, they just, it's just this one guy, but it's a team effort. And it's cool that you did that. It's cool that you did that, because man, it's a lot of hard work from a lot of people to create something magical like this. So shout out to all those guys.
You know, I'm not going to touch on the brand guys and stuff like that are, you know, worried about the marketing and launching it, but we all work together. They're just as important. We're on the phone with them 3 times a day talking about stuff. So it's just this big family. As much as I want to say it, it's a family, and we all get along great, and we all get stuff pushed through the finish line, and it's a big team effort.
It's awesome. Well, I can tell you that every time I go up to Spirit Lake, I can feel the positive energy.
Yeah.
And you guys got a great team there. You got a great system of creating some amazing baits. So, dude, thank you for creating this. Thank you for working with me on some cool baits. And I think I cannot wait for people to see it. Whether it wins or not, I cannot wait for people to see it, for people to run it in a tank, for people to fish it. And I can't wait for people to get their first bite on it, because it's a pretty amazing lure.
It's gonna really open the door for everyone to fish a glide bait, you know.
Yeah.
Even those snobs that, you know, they're 300 glide bait, you don't have to worry about smacking it into a dock anymore, guys, because this one has just the same action, and it's plastisol, so it bounces right off, and you can
bounces right off. Yeah,
you don't have to worry about breaking it anymore. So,
well, I can tell you this, man, it was it's been awesome working with you on a lot of cool projects. I cannot wait to work with you on more projects. We both have some ideas, and you know, that's the way it works. You know, I can't wait as the years pass. We just keep creating some new ideas and new concepts, and try to help people catch more fish. That's the bottom line. So
yeah, solving consumer pain points. That'll win every time.
That's it. Kyle, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. It was a lot of fun. It was such a good change of pace for me. Not necessarily talking about how did you win the last tournament, but how are these amazing lures created? So great insight, Kyle, and I appreciate it. And so you will be at ICAST?
I'm not sure yet. I sure hope so, but I'm not. I haven't seen our schedule yet or anything like that.
Okay. Well, I hope to see you there. And if we're there and the Nessie wins, let's share a beer together.
Yeah. No more wearing wigs this time, Mike.
I gotta get across the show floor somehow. So
I know. I'm like, he ain't fooling me. I see him right there.
I'll have some kind of disguise for sure.
Okay.
But appreciate you coming on the show, man.
It was a blast. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Get some sleep. You got a busy week ahead of you.
Tuesday. Yep. Thanks.
It's only Tuesday. Thanks, Kyle. All right, everybody. There you have it. Dude, that was a great one. Kyle Peterson. I can tell you, man, I've worked with other bait designers, and nothing against the other bait designers I work with, but Kyle's a fish head, and you feel a bond with someone when they're thinking like a fish, like you are, and they're always wanting to make something better and tweak something. And I know Kyle's thinking about it every day. Honestly, the calls, the texts I get at like Sunday at like 11 o'clock because he's a fish head. And I love that. I love that about Kyle. So cannot wait for everyone to see some of these new baits Kyle's created and Berkley's will be launching at ICAST. Again, if you're listening to this, ICAST is like a week away, maybe less. So very excited for you guys to see the concepts, to see the proof is in the pudding. When especially with this one, wait till you see the content, guys. You're gonna crap yourselves. Honestly, you're gonna crap yourselves. But great interview, great insight to how these amazing lures are designed. You know how we end all these shows, and we are one of the only podcasts, if not the only, to do a live unboxing of a mystery tackle box. And on tonight's show, we're going to do an unboxing of a Pro box. Okay, that's the black one. And remember, guys, if you want to have custom stuff, lures, new colors, sent directly to your house, Mystery Tackle Box does that. Head on over to mysterytacklebox.com. Use the promo code Ike Live. Dude, you're going to get 50% off that first box. That's crazy. That's half off the first box. But let's do a live unboxing. And you know how this goes. Break the seal and dig into this box. It's always loaded with great stuff. And we're going to pick a couple things for you today. Let's see. I've got some crawls. I've got some grubs. I've got a hard swim bait. I've got some hooks, weights. I'm going to go with these two in our box tonight, and we'll talk about them. And in this box, I'm going to highlight two pretty cool baits. One is all-purpose jig. This is by a company called Phoenix. And this is really, I'm showing my age here, guys, but this is what I would call an Arky style jig head. And when you're looking for a jig that can do a little bit of everything, flipping, pitching, punching, swimming, all one jig, the Arky's probably one of the best. It's a 3/8 ounce, brown and purple. This is a jig you could do a lot with. So that one is in the box. I like that a lot. By the way, you could pair that with that Berkley shape that we were talking about, that 108. It would be bad to the bone. All right, last but not least, I selected a popper. And the reason I selected a popper is right now, June, July, this is topwater time, guys. We have a bluegill spawn going on. We have the mayfly hatch going on. Post-spawn fish like to eat up. And this is a popper called the Blooper. It looks like it's a Guggen bait. And I really like the color. You see a lot of poppers out there that have white and orange and yellow and silver. This one, pure black. The entire bait is black. Black belly, black sides. It's got a little char feather tail, and the cup of the mouth actually has a little char in it. But pure black. Great bait for this time of the year, especially for fishing topwater. So that's just two examples of how Mystery Tackle Box puts new baits, new colors, different concepts right in your hands once a month. Check them out, mysterytacklebox.com. Use that promo code IkeLive, 50% off your first box. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and I hope you're enjoying this new format. This is Ike Live 2.0. we're really getting a chance to get up close and personal with some of the best in the sport of fishing. And tonight was a good example. Shout out to Kyle for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned, guys. We got a couple more really good shows coming up for you. We've got Drew Cook coming up on one of the new shows coming up. And then we also have Brandon Card joining us. So very, very excited to talk about life and fishing with Brandon Card. So keep your eye out for some more great shows. And I hope you enjoyed this one. You know, right now where we're standing, we're in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Philadelphia is right there. This is the concrete jungle. And, you know, a lot of those kids, as they grow up, they don't fish. It's interesting because they're surrounded by water. You know, the Delaware River, the Schuylkill, ponds, city park lakes. But they don't have the influence to cast, to fish, to have a rod and reel. And that became our focus, you know, is to target kids in what we call non-traditional areas, you know, urban areas, city centers, where the population's high, and let these kids have the experience. You know, it's amazing. I mean, some of the experiences we've had, whether it's Central Park in New York City, here in Camden, other parts of the country, even just casting.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable to see it, isn't it?
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
And you know, you see these kids have this experience they've never had, and they light up, you know? The big thing, I think, for the Ike Foundation is we're not saying we want all these kids to become professional anglers.
Yeah.
Be great if some of them did, but we want them to have that fishing experience because it ties them to so many other positive things. The outdoors, nature, conservation. Ecology, you know, all these amazing things in life that maybe they wouldn't have been exposed to any other way. We're trying to help with that. So it's important. It's important for us. Yeah. We're proud of it.
Four and a half inch drop shot worm, Bama bug. Finesse jig, PB&J, give me something hard. Hey, KVD here. Now, I didn't always know this much about fishing. 4-aught EWG worm hook. In fact, there was a time when I couldn't tell the difference between a jerkbait and a stickbait. But then I signed up for Mystery Tackle Box, the original monthly tackle subscription. And now I know more about fishing than I do about calculus.
And he knows a lot about calculus.
Plus, I get amazing extras like free fishing magazines. October 2016. Featured article, 4 places to throw a frog. Exclusive decals. Zombie bass. And how-to videos for all the great baits I receive. How to tune a crankbait. Is that underwater footage I smell?
I got goosebumps.
So if you're looking to develop enhanced fishing abilities like me, or you just like getting new tackle every month, go to mysterytacklebox.com and get your box today.